Good morning, everybody. You know, there are three things that make the Hagerstown area a great place to live, despite the impression you may get from watching the videos in this series. First, the historic sites. Second, the parks and open spaces. And third, the third thing is, I can't think of the third one. I'm sorry. Oops. That joke is deader than dirt already, isn't it? Okay, anyway. The following calls are taken from editions of Mail Call printed in the Herald-Mail from October 31st to November 11, 2011, which can be viewed online in their entirety at www.herald-mail.com. First up from Smithsburg. Regarding your editorial on Thursday, October 20, I strongly disagree with your comment, Bartlett has represented Western Maryland well for 20 years. In my opinion, Mr. Bartlett has served business well, and he has done a disservice to the average working person and family. He's voted no for health coverage for first responders, no to food safety overhaul, yes to extend Bush tax cuts for the wealthy, no to Children's Health Insurance Program reauthorization, no to Lilly Ledbetter Fair Pay Act, no to Medicare prescription drug bill, and no to fair minimum wage, just to name a few. Too bad more people don't read the representatives' votes you publish in the Sunday paper. Maybe we wouldn't have had his poor service for 20 years. Seriously? What I just read could have been a Bartlett campaign ad. Look at this. Yes to tax cuts, no to government health insurance, no to Medicare and the minimum wage. It sounds like he's a stalwart enemy of socialism to me. And you know, maybe if those children couldn't afford to pay for their own health insurance, they shouldn't have gotten sick. Huh? You go get him, Roscoe. I thought I had a family doctor, but apparently I have a nurse practitioner instead. When did nurse practitioners become doctors? Is this a new trend, or am I missing something? Could someone please explain this to me? Are nurses now doctors? Clear Spring. How long had you been going to see the same person before you finally noticed that they were a nurse practitioner instead of an MD? Anyway, never mind. Here's another call from a few days later from one of your fellow citizens to explain. This is to address the concerns of the Clear Spring caller. A nurse practitioner is a highly educated professional who has schooling equivalent to a doctor. They can diagnose, treat, and prescribe just like doctors. The main difference is that they have been a nurse before furthering their education. They also get to spend more time with patients than doctors do, due to insurance regulations, and that is a bonus for their patients. I hope that you would treat them with the same respect that you treat your doctor, because they do have that education, and they are caring individuals. Hagerstown. So there you go, Clear Spring. Please continue to treat your family doctor, that is, nurse practitioner, with the same suspicion and disrespect that you did before you noticed the funny letters after their name. My little great-granddaughter wanted to know for Grandparents' Day how school is different now than it was when I went to school. And I told her, I said, well, we started school out with prayer, the Lord's Prayer, and we had the Pledge of Allegiance, and we had the Ten Commandments on the right side of the blackboard. On the left side, we had do unto others as you'd have others do unto you. And at Christmas time, we had nativity sets at the school. And at Halloween, the popular costumes were angels, fairies, wedding gowns, gypsies, magic, men that did magic. Hagerstown. I think it's a very thoughtful and selfless thing that you did for your great-granddaughter to tell her what school was like for you back then, so that she's able to realize how much better it is for her right now today. Today, no one will compel her or any of her fellow public school students to pray to the God of Christianity or any other religion. No one will teach her implicitly or explicitly that her morality is derived from a 6,000-year-old book. And she won't have to suffer through such a lame Halloween. I mean, angels and fairies and wedding gowns? Seriously? How are you going to steal someone's gate and run it to the other end of town wearing a wedding gown? The most disgusting thing I've seen is the other night on the Republican debate when they blamed the poor for being poor and everybody started cheering and clapping. That's disgusting. The right wing's always saying that they're more Christian than the Democrats. How can that be when you boo a gay soldier, when you cheer for people being executed, when you cheer for people being poor? Hagerstown. Well, let's unpack this a little before we completely dismiss it. Booing a gay soldier is actually perfectly Christian. The Bible does have a slight anti-homosexuality bias, subtle and difficult to discern though it may be. The executions thing is a little trickier since it does say right there in the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not kill. But a more accurate translation of that line from Hebrew to English would be, thou shalt not murder. Executions are actually fine. In fact, if you read the Old Testament, God spends most of his time there ordering that people be executed for various minor infractions of his increasingly arbitrary and nonsensical rules. And when the people aren't meeting their executions quotas, God is more than willing to come down to earth and take care of business himself. So executions also, seems to me, perfectly Christian. Finally, cheering for people being poor. It's true that Jesus does say in the New Testament that we are all to help the poor. But you know what? Jesus lived like 2,000 years ago, man, okay? One of the most famous Christians to live since Jesus, and someone who lived much more recently than Jesus, Mother Teresa, was also all about the poor. Not so much the helping the poor not be poor anymore as the celebrating how poor they were. Mother Teresa, as Christopher Hitchens has famously said, was not a friend of the poor, but a friend of poverty. So, I mean, Christians think that being poor is pretty great. At least they think other people being poor is pretty great. So why not cheer for them being poor? Yay for other people being poor! I felt very Christian just now. Clinton will always be to blame for the 9/11 attacks. His failure to take custody of bin Laden on 2 separate occasions makes him directly responsible for all the pain and death. He should be serving life in prison on 2,977 charges of negligent homicide. Hagerstown. You should look up the definition of the word directly. Bill Clinton was not directly responsible for the 9/11 attacks, and neither was Osama bin Laden. The only people directly responsible for those attacks were the men who hijacked those planes and flew them into those buildings. That's kind of what directly means. And I know that Bill Clinton wasn't one of those people because I saw him just last week on The Daily Show. With so many real needs, like fire trucks, the Senior Citizen Center seems like a waste of money. I'm 86, and the last thing I need is a place to go for companionship. Hagerstown. Are we still bitching about the senior center? Okay, look, Hagerstown, you are not the only senior in this area, all right? Lots of seniors from around here don't have the money or the family and friends that they need to really enjoy life to its fullest in their senior years. And maybe they would appreciate having a place where they can all go and hang out and have a good time. I mean, some of them are only in their mid-60s. They have another 20 years or more to kill here. You're what, 86? How much longer do you really think you're going to last? I mean, I bet you buy those wee little half-quart jugs of milk, don't you? I'm a 67-year-old lady. I used to always go to the library. It was a great way to relax and read, but with your new way of doing it, all the books aren't in one place, and I don't walk that far now. I can't walk to the North End, South End, and everywhere else, and the one downtown is not big enough to have the books that everybody can read and enjoy. Something's been left out when you're trying to get it for the older people and for people that don't walk. I just wish that there was another way to enjoy books besides think about what I used to have, and you've even taken away the old used bookstores. Hagerstown. You know, I wasn't thinking I should have brought my baby bottle out for this one. They're building a new library downtown in Hagerstown. The little branch that you're complaining about not having all the books anymore, that's just temporary until they get the new permanent library built. And it's going to be huge, and it'll have all the books your heart could ever possibly desire. And you're only 67, so you'll probably still be alive when it's finished and open. In the meantime, any library in the county, no matter where it is, no matter how many books it actually has in its building, physically present, can order any book you want. They do interlibrary loans from other libraries in the state, from out of state, even internationally. They can get any book you want. All you have to do is ask. They can look it up, and if they find it, it can be yours in a matter of days. And there's even the bookmobile. What about the bookmobile will come to your house, and the librarian will come inside your house. You don't even have to get off the couch. And you tell them what books you want, and they'll leave, and they'll come back in a week or whatever, and the books will be there. You can check the books out right in your house. I mean, fuck, what are you doing bitching about the library when there's so much else in the world worth complaining about? Like football. And finally, from Hagerstown, another article on global warming, trying to persuade people to stop using coal and gas in cars when electricity is made from coal. We cannot afford a carbon tax, which will line the pockets of the rich and do nothing to prevent global warming if it is really happening. Secondly, the Wall Street demonstrations are becoming more violent, as I predicted. The carbon tax is meant to discourage people from using fossil fuels and to spur investment in renewable energy sources like wind and solar. If we do actually begin to use fewer carbon-emitting fuel sources and more renewable clean sources, it absolutely will have an effect on global warming. Now, I don't see how anyone can say that it will prevent global warming, since global warming is already occurring, but it will hopefully at least lessen the effects of global warming and lessen its impact on our society. And besides, this is just a more common sense, cleaner, more rational way of doing things, to move from dirty, finite fuel sources to clean, renewable sources. I mean, it's not really a viable option now, but if we get serious about it now, it will be in 30 years. And if we had gotten serious about it 30 years ago, like Jimmy Carter wanted. Also, you're an anonymous caller. You didn't predict a goddamn thing. Thanks for watching.